Welcome back to Runeways. Today's episode is about working with the gods of Norse mythology, and we'll talk about what it actually means to work with the gods, how the Norse gods represented different energetic principles, how runes act as bridges between humanity and the divine, and I'll cover simple rituals and daily practices. We'll also talk about statuary symbols and objects that can serve as anchors for divine presence. So grab some tea, settle in, and let's walk this runeway together, right here on the Runeways podcast. When we talk about working with the gods, we are not talking about obedience. We are also not talking about worship in the sense of submission, and we're certainly not talking about asking for favors like a cosmic vending machine. Instead, working with the gods means entering into a relationship with archetypal energies that the Norse people personified as divine beings. The gods are forces of nature, forces of consciousness, and forces of transformation. They're patterns that repeat in storms, in creativity, in conflict, in love, in death, and in renewal. When we work with them, we're saying, I'm choosing to align with the meanings of this energy. I'm learning from it, and I'm allowing it to shape me. This is why many modern practitioners experience the gods not as external figures alone, but as aspects of energy that awaken within us. Odin doesn't simply exist out there. Odin exists wherever there is sacrifice for wisdom. Thor appears wherever protection meets righteous force. Freya and Freya move wherever abundance, desire, and reciprocity flow. Let's talk about several key Norse deities and the energies they represent to us as humans. Odin is a god of wisdom, sacrifice, knowledge, and communication of all forms. Odin is not the god of comfort. He represents the gaining of knowledge through work and sacrifice. His energy governs wisdom earned, not given, sacrifice for deeper knowing, poetry, runes, and altered states, communications, and leadership through vision, not force. Odin's runic current flows strongly through Anzus, divine breath-inspired speech and clear communication, as well as Reidho, the journey, right order, and exploration, and Hagal, challenges or disruptions that lead to revelation. To work with Odin in daily life is to ask, what am I willing to give up to know more? How can I listen more closely and utilize the knowledge gained with the wisdom to make it beneficial in my life? Can I be honest with myself and listen to my higher self? Thor is a god of protection, strength, and boundaries. Thor's energy is often misunderstood as brute force, but in truth, Thor is the defender of order, the hammer that keeps chaos from overrunning the world. He is the god that would help one plow their fields, drink with them in the tavern, and then be the first to defend the village from the giants. He is the god of mankind, a single force, not an army. Thor governs physical and spiritual protection, healthy anger, clear boundaries, and strength in action. The key runes associated with Thor, for one, Thurisaz, the threshold, defensive force, the hammer, and the thorn, and Tiwaz as well, shared with Tyr, honor, and the right action. Working with Thor means learning when to stand your ground, when to say no, and when to act decisively rather than endlessly reflect. Frey embodies a proper relationship with the land, with others, and with yourself. His energy governs fertility and growth, prosperity without greed, harmony through balance, and sacred masculinity rooted in generosity. Runes aligned with Frey include Gifu, the rune of gifts, mutual exchange, and balanced relationships, as well as Yira, cycles, harvest, and earned reward. To work with Frey is to ask, am I giving as much as I receive? Am I patient with my growth? And where can I cultivate instead of control? Now, Freya is power in its most magnetic form. She governs Sidr, love, beauty, grief, and fierce independence, as well as intuition. Her energies include desire and sacred force, emotional truth, magical intuition, and the fluidity of energies and power. Her key runes are Bokano for birth and nurturing, and of course, Lagus for intuition, flow, and emotion. Working with Freya means honoring desire without shame, allowing grief to move through you, claiming your worth without apology, and trusting your intuition and innate power. Tyr is the god of doing what is right even when it costs you. His energy governs justice over comfort, honor, moral clarity, sacrifice for the greater good, and making decisions based on tactics, logic, and strategy rather than raw emotion. Tiwaz is the rune of Tyr. It's for direction, truth, strength, victory through integrity, and of course, legalities and justice. To work with Tyr is to ask, what is the right action, not the easy one? Where must I be accountable? Tyr appears in moments of ethical testing. When you choose integrity, you walk this path. The energy of Tyr is not about martyrdom. It has more to do with action without recognition, mainly for the greater good. Hel's energy is not evil. It's inevitable and necessary. She governs death and endings, rest and stillness, ancestral memory, and the sacredness of decay. Runes associated with Hel include Ehwaz, transition and access between worlds, as well as Algiz, spiritual boundary and the connection to your higher self. Working with Hel helps us grieve properly and release what no longer lives or serves us. She helps us honor our ancestors and past selves. Hel teaches that nothing grows without something else ending. For example, I often use the metaphor of Ehwaz in how the yew tree sprouts from the decaying trunk of the fallen elder yew. But sometimes we may think we have let the old tree go, but in fact, it's dead but still standing. And only until it is released or fallen to the ground will the new tree have a chance to sprout. Let's talk about using runes as bridges. The runes are not decorations. They are living symbols. Each one separately is one aspect of the human condition, and together they represent a complete human. When you place a rune on an altar, wear it, draw it on yourself, or meditate with it, you are tuning in your awareness and aligning it with the divine current. You're inviting that energy into your life to guide and teach you. So here's a simple rune ritual. Choose a rune aligned with the god you're working with, and trace it slowly, breathing with intention. Speak its name, and sit with what arises: emotion, thought, sensation. You can draw it on yourself as well, and work with it throughout the day. Notice if you see it in nature, notice if you experience its energies, or notice if you have any intuition or thoughts that come into you that might help you in your further growth. Now let's talk about statuary, altars, and sacred objects. You don't need elaborate tools to work with the gods. A statue, image, or symbolic object acts as an anchor or just a focal point for your intentions. And this might be a carved figure, a stone with a rune, a feather, antler, or piece of wood, maybe a hammer, a bowl, or candle, whatever you happen to have or whatever happens to call to you. When you tend an altar, you're not serving a god. You're tending a connection. Now let's talk about working with the gods in daily life. You don't need to be in ritual to work with the gods. You work with them when you choose courage over fear. You honor your intuition. You set your boundaries, you speak the truth, and you let something end, or you nurture your own growth. The gods walk beside us when we act in alignment with their energies. This is the heart of Norse spirituality. Not belief alone, but embodied action. Working with the Norse gods is not about recreating the past. It's about awakening ancient wisdom for our modern life. Rune weaving. They're not distant myths. They are currents still flowing. And when you step onto a runeway like this with intention, respect, and curiosity, you may find that they've been walking with you all along. Well, that's it for this episode, and thank you for listening to the Runeways podcast. Until next time, walk wisely, walk bravely, and may your runes guide you well. And as this is the last podcast of this year, I hope to do a lot more and a lot more frequently in the upcoming year. Have a great holiday and an abundant new year.
The Runeways podcast is brought to you by Free Life Media and hosted by Wayne Brecky. For more information, visit runeways.com.